Welcome to this video. I'm Flow Engineer and this is what I think the most detailed and visual comparison of locomotives and full trains in Captain of Industry. We will not only be talking about locomotive acceleration and power grade performance, but also about fuel considerations, cost, station considerations, plus we will compare the train lengths that my community uses the most in different scenarios. This video will be a longer one, which is why I added chapters down below. Feel free to skip around and come back anytime to revisit the information. Before we start, I also want to thank Goody, I hope I spelled this correctly, on the Captain of Industry Discord for providing me with this wonderful huge map, Firefly for figuring out different locomotive positions, and the modder Eric 500 for giving me insights into the exact calculations. Please also make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps out with the YouTube algorithm and this was a ton of work to set up. So yeah, but then let's get started. I also want to minimize confusion here. There are 12 locomotive types in this game. 6 of which are in the base game, mainly the H2 or the hydrogen train 1 and 2, the coal train 1 and 2, and the diesel train 1 and 2. There are 6 more locomotives, of which 5 are from the trains DLC, and 1 is a little hydrogen locomotive available in the supporter pack. So please keep this in mind throughout the video. If you don't have the DLCs, this should not influence this should not influence the test results, but it will influence of which trains you can choose from. So let's get to the exciting part. This test setup can run 12 different trains at pretty much the exact same time. So we can compare accelerations, top speed of those different locomotives. And I'm currently following the large T2, tier 2 coal train, but yeah, I would just say we're gonna start this. This is the exciting part. Yeah, let's get this going. Let's get it started. 3, 2, 1, and let's go. And as you can see, it's not exactly the same time they start, but you can definitely already see some differences in the different trains. Of course, they are not loaded currently, but yeah, this should serve as a very good visual of those different trains when unloaded. And as you can see, the tier 1 steam train is definitely falling behind, same with the fireless locomotive, while the electric trains over there are cruising very, very fast. So let's go look at them. So we currently, let's pause the game for a second. In this beginning of the run, we do have the tier 2 electric locomotive in first place. We do have the nuclear locomotive in second place, the fuel gas locomotive in third one, and then diesel and the small electric one are very much on the same level. Then hydrogen, actually the captain locomotive is at the same level as the tier 2 steam train, and then it's the small diesel, the hydrogen, the fireless, and last the steam train there. Yeah, but let's keep the game running because they are still very much accelerating. If we look at this here, electric is on max speed at this point. Same with fuel gas, same with nuclear, same with diesel. Yeah, so most of them already are on full speed and now use a lot less of their throttle to just keep going. Most of them are, yes. But as you can see, they are definitely spreading out. We got an overtake here by the hydrogen locomotive because it has a higher top speed than the diesel. Same with the fuel gas and electric train. So fuel gas is definitely the fastest one for now. This is top speed of the locomotive. As you will see in later tests, this definitely depends. Well, the top speed doesn't depend on the train it's carrying, but it definitely the power of the locomotive is also really important. And yeah, if we speed this game a little forward until the first train is at the end of the track here, we actually wouldn't need to do this because at this point it's very clear. But yeah, let's see. And there we go. We have the fuel gas locomotive as first one. We do have the electric tier 2. Then we do have the nuclear. Then the hydrogen tier 2. And the diesel locomotive last of the tier 2s. Is that correct? No, actually not. There's the steam train tier 2 back there. We do have the small electric, the captain's locomotive. We do have the tier 2 steam train, which just does have a quite low top speed. As we will see, it has some other benefits. And we do have the small hydrogen train. And I missed one, I think. Yes, the small diesel train, the fireless steam engine, and the tier 1 steam train. Yes, and that's it for the first test. So you definitely should have gotten a nice overview of the different top speeds and also how they compare to each other in a very visual way. Let's go to the next one. Because a comparison of unloaded trains isn't really helpful for our and your save game, I loaded those trains up with different wagons. We do have always a tier 2 diesel locomotive, and then we do have 8 wagons tier 2. We do have 1 unloaded loose, 1 unloaded with a loose material. Here it is the iron ore. Then we do have empty of the what is it called? Empty of the goods. Full one with here diamonds. Then we do have an empty liquid and a full liquid, which is visually very similar. And we do have the Molten trains here, empty and full. Please make sure that you have the DLC, because otherwise you won't be able to transport Molten materials, so don't get confused here. I think let's also get this thing going. Let me prepare this. We will go over there and we'll make sure we are on 1x speed, and we unpause this. And then we go back and we will be able to start this run. And I would say I'm just gonna start it. Let's see. You can see they're not exactly going at the same time, but it's close enough for a comparison here. What you can also see, the Molten wagons seem to be quite a lot heavier than the other trains. Those are pretty close. I would say those are a little heavier than the empty one for the liquid, but they are pretty close to each other. If I repeat the experiment, it also always looks pretty much like this. So so basically those wagons are a little lighter, even empty, than the Molten wagons. If we look at the full ones, you can see they are struggling with 8 wagons. But same thing here, the Molten wagons are quite heavy, which does make sense with that much steel on a wagon. So I think that makes sense. But I just wanted to make sure you're aware of this difference. There is also a very small difference between the other wagons. But because the trains reach, or it seems like there's a small difference, but it's probably I cannot say that word. It's probably not important to know, because now they are at max speed, and as you can see, the difference is really not big. So what we can say is Molten wagons are very much heavier, and at least if you will include some grades and going up and down, you should probably consider this in your planning. But Molten is not that common to use, except some nuclear setups, so I wouldn't worry that much about different goods. So we also don't have to separate the actual tracks between different networks running loose or liquids, for example. I think that is a check, and we will go to the next one, which will actually load some trains up, I would say. And here we are. Every locomotive just got 4 tier 2 wagons of loose iron ore. This is actually also the length that you, my community, voted for as your most used one. And I get it. It's a pretty good ratio of power to wagons, and I myself will use this in my playthroughs. But we'll just see how the different locomotives compare. And I would say we are ready, right? So we start this race. And as you can see, different amount of struggles to get going here, with the nuclear absolutely destroying this test. And then, yeah, the tier 2 ones the tier 1 ones are also struggling. And this one was very much in the front. It does have a high top speed, and in the test beforehand, that was actually the locomotive that was like quite far forward. But with some load, this train is absolutely struggling. And if we look at it, it's only like 5 times above the minimum speed a train can have. And it's not really accelerating anymore. A little bit. But if we look forward, yeah, this is what we can see here. Nuclear absolutely destroying every other test. It also has some drawbacks, as we will see later. With the fuel gas absolutely also coming up to top speed very quickly here. Not yet, but soon. This train is probably already at top speed, yes. Then we have the electric train, which is using 2.5 megawatts of electricity right now. And also the steam train, which is up at max speed too. Same with diesel soon. And the hydrogen coming in here with not that much power, which is why it's lagging behind a little. But it will come up to top speed too. Same with those. They are lacking power already. But still, I mean, this one is at full speed. So there's a reason a lot of people are using the small steam trains in the beginning of the game. Because they are pretty cheap, as you will see later. And they do have a decent power, as you can see here. And for wagons, not really a problem. And it was also not that far. If we look at the grid here, that's maybe also interesting for you. We do have the large grids, and I marked them with the red stripes, just so you have a little comparison. So that is the 3rd grid. So this is the 1 tile grid, the 16 tile grid, and I think, I'm not sure, so this would be for 8 times 16 again grid. So just so you can see, this one isn't yet at, if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 long grids, and it's not yet at max speed, while this one was at max speed quite a long time ago. And also those are coming up. The hydrogen again is a little bit behind, and yeah, the fireless locomotive doesn't have that much power, followed by the captain's locomotive, which is definitely not winning this game. And yeah, this pattern also keeps going if we speed up the game a little here. Let's see if I can get them onto the view. You just saw the fuel gas train took over the nuclear locomotive after a very long distance. If you can calculate that yourself, I won't do that for you. But it was a very long distance. Reason is top speed 140 versus top speed of 120. So if you have very, very long train lines, by the way, this map is the length of the Dragon Tail map, just so you have a comparison. And yeah, so on very long lines, we could say that the fuel gas is probably better than the nuclear. Pay attention, there's some stuff, because if they ever have to stop and start again, then this one will be better again. But we'll come back to stop and goes later. But yeah, if we let this run, I can just let it run until we are here. And if we look at this, yes, the fuel gas is winning again, followed by the nuclear, and also now the electric one would start to take over because, again, higher top speed. Then we do have quite a big gap to the diesel and actually hydrogen because of, again, the higher top speed. Then we do have the steam locomotive 2, the electric one 1, the diesel one, the very strong but not that fast steam locomotive 1 with the hydrogen following, and the fireless, and somewhere behind here is the captain's locomotive. I think that's a very clear picture again, and we will up the load a little, right? So now we had 4 tier 2s, and I think we want to have more, right? Now you probably can think what's gonna happen here. All the results we just got will just be much more exaggerated in that case, if that's the right word. But yeah, we are gonna try and see how they are performing. So again, let's get those started. All the locomotives with 8 fully loaded tier 2 iron ore wagons. Let's see what we get here. And as you can see nothing, and that is my fault. That is wrong keys. Okay, so here we go. We definitely, steam is looking good, as well as the nuclear, of course. It just has a ton of power here, with the captain's locomotive very much struggling and very soon going to be behind all the other ones. And we can also see the electric and fuel gas again being quite good, with the hydrogen tier 2 a little bit behind. And yeah, let's see where this race is going. And the tier 2 steam is definitely the best one if we talk about steam, followed by electric, with some other drawbacks, as you will see soon. And if we look at all the other trains here, yeah, we can absolutely see that the captain's locomotive isn't even on... Oh, it's actually above max, but it's pretty much slow. It's just very slow. With the nuclear one here absolutely demolishing every other train here. Pretty strong. We'll talk about this at the end, but yeah, nuclear is absolutely winning this race again. I actually again wanna probably speed up the game quite a lot, and let's see where this is going. Nuclear is absolutely in front, but as you can see there's some other trains coming now. Beforehand we had the fuel gas train actually overtaking the nuclear one, but didn't happen again because, well, yeah, the fuel gas train does not have enough power to accelerate those to full speed, even on the full length. And you have to keep in mind, this is the longest map in the game. It's the Dragon Tail map, or size of Dragon Tail map, and on this length those trains couldn't reach full speed. Actually, this one is, I guess, the only one that actually reached full speed. It's slowed down already again. That's a little... Okay, but the fuel gas couldn't overtake it. Same with electric. It also didn't reach full speed with 8 wagons. We do have the steam, and steam again reached full speed very quickly. It does have a very low full speed, but it did reach full speed quite fast. Same with nuclear, by the way. And then we do have the diesel, which did not reach full speed yet in this time. It would reach it if we go all the way back. We have the tier 2, the tier 1 coal, which is actually reaching full speed after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, after a lot of large grids there. Interesting, but it did reach full speed on the test here. Electric behind, those are just falling very much behind with 8 wagons. Hydrogen here with only 40 speed. The steam, the fireless steam engine is also here. Please also keep in mind I'm running those trains without fuel consumption at this moment. As you will see later, this is definitely something you have to think about in those tests. We're really only comparing power and speed at this moment. But I do have even one more test, an even heavier test for those locomotives. So I think let's get that stuff loaded up. Now, of course, this test is a little silly, except of course you want to go really long trains, then this test is for you. That's why I included it. We saw the Molten tier 2 wagons, or it's only one tier, but the Molten wagons are by far the heaviest. So I thought, well, why not put 16 of them on here, on every train, and let's just go and see what actual power is behind all of those locomotives. And I would say we're following the tier 2 steam train again, and let's get this race going. As you can see, a very much slower start than before. Even the nuclear train is starting to have to power through this, but you can also see it's still the one that just has a ton of power. With the small captain's locomotive, absolutely not want to do this anymore. It basically runs on minimum speed, which is like 3.5 kilometers per hour. I think we can safely say it's not viable to have those long trains with any tier 2, tier 1 locomotive, except maybe the small tier 1 train, the small steam tier 1 steam train, for different reasons. But basically, yeah, you see there's like 3 or maybe 4 locomotives you could actually use in this test if you want to do that in your own save. Steam is still holding up quite well, and of course the fuel gas, which is a very thirsty locomotive, by the way. We'll see that in a second too. But yeah, you can see those trains definitely are better off with those long trains, with nuclear again going forward much quicker. If we talk about non-DLC locomotives, the steam train will be much better than the diesel train, and as well as the hydrogen train. Hydrogen just doesn't provide enough power to get this going. I will again, even though it's kind of unnecessary, speed up the game here a little. Let's actually see is this 20? Yeah, no, this is 12x. That's what I thought. So let's go to 20. As you can see, nuclear is already at full speed, almost at full speed. It will at least reach full speed until the end of a Dragon Tail map, which is highly unrealistic that you have such a long line without stopping. Behind, we do have the fuel gas, then the tier 2 steam train. From non-DLC, we do have electric, and then the diesel and hydrogen. And basically all the tier 1 trains are definitely not viable. If you look, this is real-time speed, how slow or fast they're going. Well, this is kind of realistic, I guess, but from a gameplay perspective, this will not be viable. With this one tuckering at like 7 kilometers per hour, which is very slow. It's actually not minimum, but yeah. I think a very clear picture again, and we are gonna go into the next test. I think this test just again showed a very clear picture, but what we didn't compare yet is actually this test, or a test with locomotives, but for fuel consumption. So I think what I will do is I will reset this test, and I will turn on the fuel, that they actually are consuming fuel. And we will also customize the difficulty, so a train that is out of fuel will stop working. Okay, I decided against going with the Molten wagons. I decided to go with a more realistic scenario, which is 8 of the tier 2 ore trains or wagons. But yeah, what we are gonna do, we are gonna disable fuel consumption automatic refueling in the sandbox here, so they will actually use their fuel. Now, when talking about fuel, the electric locomotive is just using power, maximum 1 megawatt at full throttle. If we look at diesel, it carries 84 diesel. This one carries 56 diesel, and water in the tender, and 32 in the locomotive itself. So you can actually run this without the tender here. I don't think why you would do this. It would look very silly. So I'm comparing this here. So it's carrying a total of 88 coal and 88 water. Hydrogen is carrying 50 hydrogen, and steam is carrying 24 high steam, which is not a lot. Then we have the captain's locomotive, which is carrying 30 hydrogen. The large train, again, you could probably run this one without a tender on short distances, but we are carrying a total of 208 coal and water in this test setup. Then we do have the diesel, which is carrying 150 diesel, and we do have hydrogen, which is again 150 but hydrogen. We do have the fuel gas, which is 140 fuel gas in the locomotive. Again, you can add fuel capacity with the tenders, and I did put one behind just because I think it looks cool, and we'll compare and we'll see how much it actually used. Of course, this is also additional weight, so if you're always running short distances, this may or may not be necessary or does make sense. Yeah, the nuclear locomotive is carrying a total of 36 uranium rods, and as you will see, yeah, the fuel usage is very small, so this will run forever. Okay. For the electric one, we don't have to worry about fuel again, it's just power consumed. Again, I think we will run this setup. So let's get started. Let's run this, and I did not go into picture mode here, and as you can see, the train here, again, the nuclear is going much faster forward. Let's actually customize the difficulty here in the save. So train out of fuel will stop working. So we will actually see when they are running out of fuel. Now, as you can see, it is going very quickly. Let's do a comparison mid. So you did use a little bit of hydrogen. The steam one did use quite a lot already. Some diesel, this, and then we do have those which used coal. This did use a little bit of hydrogen, and power, of course, doesn't matter. We did use some of this, a little bit of that, and you probably, yeah, you're pretty much still full. So let's run this until every locomotive runs out of fuel. Probably not gonna happen for the nuclear one, but maybe we'll actually see the fuel gas one running out. But then we will be able to compare quite a lot of them. We'll also get the messages here, the alerts that our trains are out of. Yeah, those two didn't run out of fuel. Of course, the electric one does also not run out of fuel. Interesting, the diesel one and the tier 2 steam train did also not run out of fuel. Let's see what's going on with those. This did use quite a bit of fuel, interesting. We also have to keep in mind at 30% usually you go refuel again to never run empty, because if a train is running empty and you're not and the difficulty settings are not telling you that trains will come to a halt, then it will go very slow with, I think, again, the minimum speed, 3 point something kilometers per hour. As you can see here, why are you not? Train out of fuel, stops working, and you are telling me, let's pause it then manually. You're telling me you can still run. That's weird. Are you out of fuel yet? Nope, you're not. Interesting. And yeah, there's no slower train. I will stop this manually. I have to keep an eye on this. But yeah, we do have a few locomotives that actually made it to the end. Interesting. But we will be able to compare once all of them had run out. Now, the steam train, that does make sense. That's also what it's advertised for. We also do have, you are also out of fuel. Interesting. Did I miss it, or what happened there? And you will probably run out of fuel before you're at the end too. Let's speed the game up some more. Let's see. And yeah, you will run out too. So let's get started with checking. Yeah, of course, electricity didn't run out. We do have used quite a lot of diesel. You can look at the numbers yourself. We used one tender to go a whole length of the Dragon Tail Island with the steam locomotive. Also keep in mind, we did cruise. There's not a single time those locomotives had to stop. Keep this in mind. Hydrogen run out. Then we have coal and water here. And we also do have the other one now running out, I think. Or is it still running? No, it's... Oh, yeah, no, it's not. So let's pause this one here. We do have... Did we look at this one? So we used some coal and water. We used a lot of diesel. We used hydrogen and fuel gas, as well as a tiny little bit of uranium. As you can see, this train will run for a very, very long time. And also the electric one here. Now the fuel test that we just did, I will also let this game run here, just so you can see it's basically the same test again. All the locomotives are going in circles until they run out of fuel. I will also enable fuel usage here. This test has a few implications on your game. How much fuel they use. Well, we do have a few things here. One is fuel availability. You need to have your fuel that is what you're using, and you have to be able to produce it in a very large amount generally. For example, for me, yes, as we saw, the hydrogen trains are not powerful, but I do have a setup which is producing a ton of hydrogen. It's producing it very reliably over trading for wood. So there's a good reason for me to use hydrogen trains, even though, for example, nuclear trains would be much, much more efficient. Okay? Now, the nuclear train would be a great fit for my playthrough, for example, but the amount of people, power needed to produce the rods is a very huge number, okay? So you have to really think about what fuel is available to you. Yes, I do have diesel production. Yes, I do have hydrogen production. I probably should go for diesel if it's infinite, okay? But if I wanna have, or I wanna go away from oil and then producing my hydrogen from corn, there's a good reason to go with a hydrogen train, okay? Same with fuel gas. Fuel gas, as we saw, is quite thirsty. It does have a lot of power, but if I can crack down the fuel gas into hydrogen, get a lot of hydrogen, and as you see, the first trains are running out of fuel, by the way, and you see those, and you can crack down the fuel gas for hydrogen, can also use it for your trucks. You have one facility. There's a good reason to go with a less wasteful train that is hydrogen, and yeah, there's a good reason to do those things. Just keep this in mind when choosing your locomotive. Same goes with how far a train can go. If you don't want to spread out fuel stations, there's a good reason to go with a tender on your locomotive. Yes, it's more weight for the train. It does also use technically a little bit more fuel to actually carry it with it around, but you don't have to refuel as often. You don't have to put as many fuel stations, and the train is not clogging up other train routes when going to a refuel. Okay, so there's a balance between fuel stations, tenders, and for example, that's probably what I think is the main benefit of electric trains here. The performed work before refueling is a really important part. A nuclear train or an electric train, I'm going to compare those because the electric one is probably at almost the same with the nuclear at this point. The amount of work that a nuclear train can perform before needing to refuel at 30% is huge, okay? So there's a very good reason to prefer a fuel even though it's hard to produce. Same goes with, of course, power, but I will come back to this at the end. And yeah, let's look into this here. We do have the electric one, which obviously will run forever if you have enough power. All the other trains you saw run out, and then we do have the nuclear one, which used 15. Was this? This was 15%. I'm sorry for my mind math here, and the other electric train, which actually cannot get over 48 kilometers per hour. Also, this one, I think it's slowing down and speeding up all the time. It's not the perfect setup. But you see this, even though it has to accelerate all the time again, it's still a lot better than any other train here, okay? So that is another test done. And I think we want to go to the more exciting ones and maybe also more important ones, because some of you do have slopes in your setup. Welcome to the slope test. This took forever to set up, to make this slope. I can play you a clip here. This is taking forever. Why? I need a more powerful PC. Yeah. Okay, so I almost lost my mind, so please leave a like for the dedication. Again, I took the trains, which from your perspective was the most used. I did a poll on my channel, and that's what you said, 4 tier 2 wagons. So I went with 4 tier 2 wagons and all the locomotives, and we are gonna see which ones are the best for climbing a small. This is not the, if we take a train, we do have a few different heights. We can go up like this, which is the more steep angle and the less steep angle. We're currently at this less steep angle. You can also limit it with J to 12.5 or 20.5. Yeah, it's down here. So you can go up or down more steep, and we're currently at the 12%. Yeah, I would again say let's get this thing set up. We're gonna undo this, and yes, it's still not the most accurate way of starting all of those trains, probably because of some code timing issues. But yeah, let's see what we can see here. We already know, we definitely already know that some trains are more powerful than others. We saw that a lot of times, that for example, nuclear trains are much more powerful. But keep in mind, this should also just be a visual reference and a visual comparison of what those different trains will do. I will also play this on 1x speed, yeah, just so you can see how those trains perform and maybe compare them to each other, because there's definitely a difference, okay? As you can already see, yes, the nuclear train is very much the strongest. Same with the tier 2 steam train from the non-DLC players. The results aren't really something new, probably. It's basically the exact same staging as with every other power test, but you can just see how those trains compare at a non-steep angle, and I really wanted to include this in this comparison, so you just have a visual reference on 1x speed of those different trains, and you can see yeah, they are definitely some of them are definitely lagging behind, with nuclear absolutely destroying every other train, followed by the very strong but also fuel hungry fuel gas train. We could actually, yeah, let's actually maybe enable just fuel again, just so we will see. This is an unfair game now, but you just so you see, yeah, just so you can see how much they are using. Currently they are using 0, which is weird. That's maybe, well, it's actually, this number is just not updating, but as you can see, it's very fuel hungry, while this one is less so, okay? And then we have the electric train, which is very strong actually. I'm really impressed, but is also using 2.5 megawatts per locomotive on your network. And they also don't recuperate energy. If you want to vote for me for this idea, I will put you the link down below. So electric trains, when going down, can convert the braking force into electricity again. That will be very fun and enable some very cool systems in our safes. Yeah, their diesel does use a lot of diesel, and then again, hydrogen is just not as powerful as all the other trains. And if you want to go for tier 1 trains and you do have steepness in, or you go up and down in your safe, you're just by far of the best with the coal trains, followed by hydrogen, which is impressive. I thought the diesel one would be much better actually. I'm kind of impressed by this. It's almost at 9. This is only running at 5. I very much didn't expect this one. Was it the same on flat ground? I would have to check again. You know it because you saw it. Yeah, then the fireless just isn't powerful enough, as well as the normal electric one, and yeah, this one. Of course, we are also comparing tier 1 and tier 2, so keep this in mind too. But as you can see, they are very much, yeah. So I think this shows again a very clear picture, and we can definitely see some, or we can compare them very well now. Yeah, I think we want to go up because we actually saw this is only the not so steep angle, and we do also have this one. So yeah, let's load that one in. We can actually do a very nice match cut here. So yeah, let's load the other save in, and I'm gonna see you there. 3, 2, 1. And if I did everything right, that should have been pretty satisfying. Maybe I also failed miserably. I will see while editing. But yeah, we are back again. Same setup for tier 2, loaded tier 2 wagons, all the locomotives. So yeah, let's get this one set up too, and we can again compare our different locomotives. What am I doing? Okay, no, what am I doing? Okay, so like this, and we are ready. So let's get started, and we see again same thing. We see which one is strong. I just want to give you a visual reference, and also I want to show you that not if you have those very steep angles, or if you have a deep mine and you use a train to get stuff out of it, for example, which would be a very cool way. Not every train is able to do it, and yeah, they're probably all the tier 2 trains at the tier 1 trains at this point are not something you want to have in your game. If we look at this one, it's running at 4 kilometers per hour. All the other ones are basically at the minimum. Yeah, so they are all at the minimum. They are massively overwhelmed by 4 tier 2 wagons. If we go with the tier 2 trains, even a hydrogen locomotive doesn't want that steepness, okay? You can go for 12%, I would say, with a hydrogen tier 2. I wouldn't go anywhere else, except you're maybe using steam. I think 17 is okay. They also can take some momentum. We are talking about a height of 100 tiles. So if you take a mining designations and you go up 100, that's how high this slope is, okay? So there's definitely, they can take their momentum into the hill, and I think most of the tier 2 trains will be fine for like a 5, 10 or 15 height slope, even in this steepness. I wouldn't say so for the tier 1. Yeah, but you can think yourself, and you can also test yourself, so that is very possible. And as you see, again, nuclear is destroying everyone, followed by the fuel gas. And if you are a non-DLC player, you probably want to go with steam if you have a very hilly safe game. Okay, I think that's it. So let's go to the next thing I want to talk about. I did not have a visual idea on how to show you this, so I'm actually loading in a save from my playthrough, which you can check out on my channel. But what I want you to keep in mind is stop and go, because stop and go, depending on the acceleration of the train, will be a factor on how fast your train is going to its destination. Imagine a train is coming in here. Let me actually try to let me try to get a train to come in here. So let's pause this one for a second. Let's Unity remove this, so we can request a train coming in. So this train, it will go to load, and if we keep this open, I just want you to keep an eye on the acceleration and deceleration here. Okay, so there's a tier I think tier 2 radius here, so the second smallest radius, and this is the smallest one. Do you see how much it slows down? And every time you don't have a max radius crossing intersection, when they have to brake because of another train, every time the train is basically slowing to 0. Okay, if it has to wait and then go forward again, wait again, forward again, it will use a lot more fuel. And if it doesn't have good acceleration, which my hydrogen trains here don't really have, but then they will use a lot more fuel, and that is something you have to consider. So it can be very much worth it to upgrade your locomotives if you want to have more power. If you, for example, have congestion problems, so you have too many trains going into the same intersection, because a train that is faster accelerating will block the crossing less amount of time. So that is something you should think about. And as you can see, we also do have a little bit of height, and that is not really a problem. But this train will never reach full speed because it has to slow again here, because this is again the smallest radius. Okay, and you have a very big penalty for the smaller radius. That is something I wanted to talk about, so let's also now talk about the station length that is needed depending on the locomotive. Let's jump into another sandbox game for this, and we're gonna see each other in a second. Okay, for this one, I loaded in the save of the ultimate train network guide, which you can also check out. What I showed here is the different length of the different locomotives. So you do have those modules, and they are 5 tiles long. Okay, so and every train does have its length displayed in tiles. Okay. So we do have the smaller captain's locomotive, then the most other tier 1 locomotives, the normal tier 2 ones, I think this is fuel gas. Yeah, it doesn't really matter which exactly it is, probably this one also. Yeah, this is 18, so this is even a little bit more, it's somewhere here. So you do have the length of the locomotive, and you also have the length of the wagons, of course, which is 5 or 10 for the tier 2. If you have a station and you are using, let's use this as an example, and you are using 1 hydrogen locomotive, this is gonna be fine, okay? Actually, maybe not. This is, how long is this? This is 8 long. So you can have an 8 long locomotive here, and then basically here they can cross again. Wait. So if we do this and there's a track here, this will work fine for a short locomotive. If you go with nuclear, you need a very long place for the locomotive to actually stay while loading and unloading. So keep this in mind when choosing your train type, or at least plan accordingly after you have chosen this. Okay. Yeah. What I also want to talk about is cost. We don't only have fuel cost, we also do have maintenance as well as initial cost to set the train up. If we look at one of those diesel tier 1 locomotives, yes, it's not the strongest one, it's decent, and it's cheap. There's not a lot of material needed to get those running, okay? If we look at a large diesel locomotive, that changes. We need vehicle parts 3, and not like, what is it, 60 of them? We need 100 of them. We need a lot more steel and a lot more diesel to set them up initially. If we go to, for example, a steam locomotive with tender, that is again going up quite a lot, but you don't need tier 3 parts, for example. So this is actually a cheaper option than every other tier 2 train. If we go for electric, we need electronics. If we go, this is probably the cheapest one, but yeah, we saw the power. If you want to go for a turbine, that is even more. That 180 vehicle parts 3 isn't like a ton, but you have to keep this in mind. If we want to go look at a full nuclear, you need 540 vehicle parts 3, as well as 36 uranium rods, which is also a pain to get, by the way, and 440 steel per locomotive, per train. Keep this in mind. The trains are not cheap to set up initially. Of course, you're going to pay it off quite fast, but keep it in mind when choosing. It doesn't make sense to, in the very early game, as soon as you unlock tier 2 trains, to go for nuclear, probably, except you have every other thing set up perfectly, because they are just really, really, really expensive to set up and maintain. Yeah, let's also look at this. So this will use a maximum of 80 maintenance. Do yourself a favor if you set up a train, look at this and maybe change the locomotive and see how it compares. One of those is 2 maintenance. It's not the strongest one, but it's 2 maintenance. It also uses much less people, dependent on, yeah, this for example is 1 worker, the nuclear is 2, and this will use less maintenance too. If we look at this one, it will use 5, which is still a lot. If we go with a hydrogen one, it's also 5, 1 worker. If we go with the smaller ones, it's usually just maintenance 1 and 1 worker. I'm not sure. Yeah, this uses 2 workers and 40 maintenance, so kind of expensive, but it's also the by far strongest one without DLC. Okay. So there's a cost in creating the train, but also in running the train in regards to maintenance. But as far as I know, and as far as I could see, I think maintenance is scaling with the power of the train. But I'm not actually sure that is the case. It's at least the case for the diesel consumption. So this train will use 2 diesel when going full speed, and it will drop the consumption when cruising, for example. If what I said is wrong, please write it down in the comments. I'm not actually sure. And then there's one last thing I noticed I want to talk about. That is, on one hand, double-sided trains, which I don't have a test, but on the other hand, something else which is a little weird. What I did here is I took a tier 1 and tier 2 diesel locomotive, and I also put one train where the locomotive is in front and one where the locomotive is actually pushing, because the game does calculate a pushing penalty. So if you push trains, the train will lack power, it will be less powerful, and I think also top speed is reduced. If we let this run and we look at this, and let's run it and let's see what happens. So as you can see, all the trains facing forward are much more powerful. I also, of course, did use a different amount of wagons, so this is a comparison. But as you can see, generally all the pulling trains are faster accelerating. If we now speed this game up a little, we can see that once they reach full speed, which is now, this one is cruising with 100, and the other one behind there is cruising with it's just not reaching the top speed as quickly, but top speed is not reduced. That was wrong from me saying that. Okay, so now they are the same speed, but the penalty is real, and the penalty can make quite a difference, because again, we are talking about a large grid here, so the small towns and then the large one, and that's the difference between a train that is having the locomotive behind and in front of the train. When creating a train, you can see this in here. So if we build a train and we put the locomotive in front, you can see it has an amount of power, okay? And it has a power going backwards, right? If we now, so this would be the same train. If we put the locomotive on the other side, so it's pushing, this turns around. So basically it can go backwards very quickly, but it cannot go forward really quickly, okay? So keep this in mind when creating your 1 or 2 way setups. If you add another locomotive and we, for example, compare this, same thing. We have a total power when going. Oh yeah, now it starts to get weird. I will come back to that, but there is specific power when going forward or backward, and as you can see, for example, this one now, we could even flip this one. It will change the power, or it will calculate this backwards power with this forward power, and that's why it gets 95%. Okay, there is some weirdness in this calculation, and I will come to that in a second. Let me load up the other save and we'll see. Okay, regarding the train penalty, the pushing penalty, there's some weirdness going on in the calculations, and I definitely had to figure this out myself. There was Eric500 who helped me, as mentioned at the beginning of this video, who helped me figure this out, and he also gave me some insights into the exact calculation. He's a modder. If you're playing with mods, please also go check his mod Train Dino out. It gives you a lot more information while constructing your train in the depot. Okay, but I don't wanna waste your time, so I'm just gonna run this. And as you can see, we have a locomotive at different positions in the train. And as you will see shortly, they definitely do accelerate differently. There is some weirdness going on in the calculation. Of course, we also do have some non-accuracy here again. There is some weirdness in the train, and as you can see, the locomotive, at least if let's speed it up a little more to make it more clear. Basically, pushing wagons is bad, okay? We already saw that before. Pushing wagons is not good for your train. The acceleration gets a big hit. Now, not pulling the trains is pretty much a good thing. It gives you max power the locomotive can give you. The thing is, if you mix those, you can basically cancel out pushed wagons with pulled wagons. Okay, this is weirdness in the calculation. If you want more details, I can try to show you the message Eric, the insights into the code base he gave me. I will show it in the video here, so you can just press pause and read it for yourself. Very interesting stuff. For all of you that don't want to know the details, basically you can do a very cheaty way, and this train in the middle here, it will actually be full power of the locomotive in both ways. Yes, it needs some interesting changes when it comes to station design, absolutely, but that would be, I would say, the most optimal way of doing two-way trains. If you want to try it out with some of your own trains, I can just advise you to play around. So if this one does now only have, or if we do this does have 100 or 90% when going backwards, okay? Same if we turn it around, 90% when going forward. If we now add another wagon, it cancels out to 0, and you can go pretty crazy with this. If we go with like 10 wagons, yes, we would have a crazy penalty when going forward, okay, because it needs to push 10 wagons, and if we add even more wagons, it's actually it goes down even more. If we now add some more wagons on this side, you can see the penalty is going down, and if we have the same amount of wagons on both sides, it will cancel out. Maybe this will be fixed in future episodes, in future updates of the game, but for now, this would be probably the most efficient way of doing two-way trains, okay? Because it has max power into two directions, and even if we, let's say, do this, and we have, let's do 30, even then, we will have a penalty in both sides, even if we flip that one. Let me flip it. We will still have a penalty going in both directions. So two-way trains, you can do some fun stuff right now. I just wanted to also show you this. But yeah, all of those are the same speed. That does make sense. If it does not to you, try to think about which wagons are canceling out. And yeah, so I think this is interesting to know. I hope this helps a lot. Yeah, this is already everything I can provide you. We saw a lot of different trains, all of them here. with different configurations of trains on different tracks, on different different places to go, and we talked about a lot of different things. If you came here to figure out which train to use, I hope you actually figured it out, because there's a lot to consider when choosing trains. We have a very easily accessible fuel, we do have a very powerful, the most powerful non-DLC locomotive, but also uses coal. So do you have coal available? We do have diesel, which you have to actually make. Decent all-rounder, I guess. Easily accessible fuel, and usually a very cute but absolutely not powerful locomotive, which you get from buying the supported DLC when actually having the train DLC. We do have the absolutely most powerful but also by far most expensive train in setting up and running. We do have the very powerful but very thirsty fuel gas train, which, yeah, turbine locomotive. It's very, very good, but also I would probably, for myself, rather split it up into hydrogen, use hydrogen trains, because speed not always matters. If you talk about stop and go considerations, that definitely applies to hydrogen trains, why they maybe should not be used. And then we do have electric trains, which are kind of expensive in setting up, especially as you need to electrify all the rails, which also need one more tile of space on the top. But you can have centralized power production, you don't need to refuel, so the work getting done before refueling is basically infinite with the electric trains. Same with the nuclear trains, a very long time until you have to refuel. If we talk about the fireless dimension, that's not the case, it has to refuel very often. So I think it is very, or we can basically go look at what they actually wrote in the DLC. If we talk about non-DLC, this one is the strongest. Hydrogen, if you have hydrogen fuel, why not use hydrogen, right? So now I did press a button and I don't know how to get rid of it anymore. Okay, so you have to, yeah, it's okay. So hydrogen, if you have hydrogen, you probably want to go there. If you have diesel, you want to go there. If you need raw power or you don't want to spend diesel or hydrogen, you want to go with the steam locomotive. If we talk about the DLC ones, we do have electric locomotives which do not need refueling. As long as track is electrified, they can run, which is expensive to set up, and they also need more clearance above. We do have the fireless steam engine, which runs on the steam. It's a very simple locomotive. You can power it by a lot of different things. There's a lot of industries that put out high pressure steam. However, it is very low power and limited range. Then we do have the gas turbine. As we said, the fastest one and very powerful. And then, of course, yeah, nuclear. And I'm starting to repeat myself. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Flow Engineer. Please also, again, a big thank you to Gutty on the Captain of Industry Discord for providing me with the empty map where I could build this drag race on. Then we have Firefly, which helped me figuring out the Wierdness with the push calculations. And then also Eric for giving insights into the exact calculations. Go also check out his mod. I will link everything I have down below so you can check it out. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please support me. As I said, it was a lot of work to put this together, to build all of this. So please leave a like to push it to the algorithm. Thanks also to all the Patreon supporters, which yeah, it's just nice to have someone value what I do here, and I really appreciate all Patreon supporters. And if that's something for you, you maybe want to go check it out. Otherwise, yeah, please subscribe to the channel, and we are gonna see each other in the next one. Have a nice day, and bye!